My name is Marianne. At the start of last year, I indulged far too much in gourmet dishes and ended up putting on 3 kilos. Being 45 years old now, I've been dieting in advance for the upcoming long holiday season. I keep telling myself that if I manage to drop those same 3 kilos now, then even if I gain them back during Christmas and New Year, it'll all even out, right? Right? If I lose 3 kilos beforehand, that's the whole strategy. Haha. But honestly, who am I kidding? There's an endless parade of delicious food from Christmas right through New Year's. It's a delightful dilemma. And knowing myself, I'll probably end up buying Valentine's chocolates for myself again. Oops. Now I'm actually drooling a little. Looks like history might repeat itself and I'll gain weight again this year. Oh dear. Anyway, today I want to share a winter episode with you. Something that happened when I was 25 back then. After several years of dating, my engagement to my boyfriend Scott was finally decided, and the time came to introduce him to my parents. It was the classic greeting the family before marriage situation. My parents liked Scott right away, and I thought everything was going to progress smoothly. But then a complication appeared in the form of my older sister Sally, who is 2 years older than me. When Sally returned home from work and saw Scott, she became strangely fixated on him. Sisters can often sense each other's thoughts and feelings instinctively, and I could tell immediately that she had fallen for him at first glance. I hoped it was just a fleeting whim. But when she shook hands with Scott, she blushed, held onto his hand longer than necessary. And even while talking, her eyes had this dreamy, dazed look in them, no matter how you look at it. That kind of reaction is not appropriate for an older sister toward her younger sister's fiancé. But I think she wasn't even aware of her own behavior. Emotions can't always be controlled, so I pretended not to see it, believing she wouldn't act on it seriously. However, after Scott left that day, Sally came out of the bath wrapped in just a towel and confronted me bluntly. "You should call off the engagement," she declared. She insisted that Scott was a womanizer and that I deserved someone better. She continued criticizing him nonstop, except she had no evidence. No reasoning, nothing to back her claims. "Why do you think he's a playboy?" I asked quietly. "It's a woman's intuition," she responded confidently. But Sally had never even had a boyfriend. How was I supposed to trust her so-called intuition about men? I had known Scott's character for years, so I chose to rely on my own judgment. I brushed off her warning lightly with, "Yeah, I'll keep it in mind," without taking her words to heart. After that, Scott started coming to our home more frequently. He said he wanted to build a good relationship with my family, so I welcomed him openly. My parents were pleased, and I hoped that my future husband would get along well with them. But while that relationship was forming nicely, Sally attempted to build a relationship with Scott in a very different way. According to Scott, whenever I wasn't around, she grabbed his arm, leaned her chest against him, and whispered things like, "Don't you think Marianne is too immature?" She even asked for his contact information, purposely slipped in front of him to show her underwear, and exaggerated her gestures so much that Scott admitted it was almost comical still. I was relieved that Scott wasn't the kind of man who would take her behavior seriously. My sister, on the other hand, believed she had a chance simply because Scott never verbally rejected her. As she was my sister, every time they met, she approached him with a soft, sugary he. And to top it off, the fact that Scott worked at a large company, had a reliable personality, and the kind of face she liked made her completely infatuated. My parents witnessed her inappropriate behavior, but stayed silent. This wasn't new. They had always avoided scolding Sally. She'd always been someone who struggled with everything. Academics, sports, chores, even warming leftover food would end with her melting a non-microwave safe plastic container. She skipped swimming classes with excuses like injuries, sickness, or skin problems. She wasn't particularly outstanding in looks either, yet because she was the eldest daughter, my parents treated her specially and quietly pushed responsibilities onto me, telling me to make her shine while staying in the background myself. It was unfair, but maybe they saw her as someone pitiful who needed protection. Meanwhile, I had always been capable, efficient, and quick at learning new things. The adults probably felt there was no thrill in teaching someone who could do everything already. Supporting Sally became my silent duty. And I even pretended to be a little incompetent sometimes so she could stand out. But when I entered my teenage years and realized I'd fail exams if I continued living like that, I rebelled against my parents' expectations and began living according to my own decisions. Because of that, Sally started disliking me somewhat, but our relationship was never truly bad. We could talk normally and occasionally. I even advised her on her problems. Despite our family's skewed dynamics, overprotectiveness towards Sally, and mild resentment from her, I still believed we were a reasonably normal family. Until everything shifted because Scott didn't return my sister's feelings. I can't stand the idea of my younger sister getting married before me. Sally shouted to our parents on the eve of my wedding. "Don't say that. You'll meet someone good too, Sally." Dad comforted, Mom added, "Your turn will come." But Sally yelled, "Normally, the older sister marries first. Why is she rushing ahead? The wedding is tomorrow. Does no one care about me? I'll be the miserable older sister who got overtaken." That night, I listened quietly from the hallway as the argument grew intense. Should Sally really marry first? If I waited for her to find someone, I'd grow old waiting. What was she thinking? But what shocked me most came next. My parents said, "We understand. We won't attend the wedding tomorrow." Please be satisfied with that, Sally. I was speechless. Both my mother and father agreed not to attend my wedding just to appease my sister. It felt like they were devoted followers of Sally's personal cult. This was no longer just indulgence. It was madness. Sally sighed dramatically and said, "Fine, let her have a wedding nobody approves of." She clearly didn't want me to marry Scott, likely because she was in love with him herself. And so, the unthinkable happened. A wedding without my parents because of my sister's one-sided. Crushed. Then came the wedding day. Despite it being a day of celebration, I barely slept, not from excitement, but from anxiety and the sting of those painful words echoing in my mind. I couldn't forget the satisfied smile on Sally's face when our parents promised not to attend at the venue. I explained to Scott and his parents, "I'm sorry. My sister opposes this marriage, so my family will not be attending." Saying those words broke my heart. My in-laws stared silently, stunned that parents could choose not to attend their daughter's wedding. Sensing the heavy air, my mother-in-law immediately took my hand. My father-in-law placed his hand gently over ours. "Remember," she said kindly, "your family is here. Don't let this beautiful day become a sad memory. Come now, smile." Her warmth brought tears to my eyes. Scott stroked my head gently and said, "Marianne, I'm here. Please don't say your family isn't attending. We are your family too," seeing me on the verge of crying. They all tried to cheer me up, telling me my makeup would run, joking lightly to ease the heaviness. Then my mother-in-law looked at me with a firm but loving gaze. "Marianne, I know things are difficult with your family, but this new chapter you're starting should be a beautiful beginning. Let's build your own family from here." Even though I felt abandoned, she held me tightly. Scott and my father-in-law embraced me too. I told myself, it's okay. This is the start of something new. Just like she said, and with that resolve, I married Scott. 15 years passed. Scott and I had one daughter and 2 sons. My capable daughter kept her mischievous little brothers in check, though the chaos they caused often made me shout louder than I expected. Scott's career flourished. We bought a house, and our life was steady and peaceful until unexpected visitors arrived. My father, my mother, and my sister. I had kept my distance after the wedding and never gave them my new address. Yet they somehow found our home and showed up unannounced naturally. The first words out of my mouth weren't, "It's been so long," but rather, "What do you want?" "I need a favor," Sally said. My parents added, "Something only you can help with." Looking at me with unusual seriousness. What could they possibly want after 15 years of silence? Half wary and half curious, I waited quietly. Then my mother finally said, "We want you to give Scott to your sister." Both Scott and I were stunned into silence. Were shocked by her words. We're shocked by her words. Wait. Emanu, why do you mean I need two? Give Scott away when I asked this sharply both. My parents turned away looking guilty, only my sister remained smug. And only my sister remained smug proud. She's still single and she's turning 42 this year, and that's a problem because I couldn't grasp the logic in my father's words. Scott showed the same confusion actually the company she worked for recently went under. And she's currently unemployed. That's tough to worry about your sister's future being single and jobless, we hope. You understand, since you are sisters you should feel the same. I silent countered their serious looks with no. I didn't think so in my mind. Curious about what they would say next. I was frustrated with my father's slow speech. I held back unnecessary comments eager to hurry his response. She's always liked Scott, and she's still alone because of that. You've enjoyed your marriage with Scott, haven't you? Could you please let your sister have him for the rest of her life? What do you, Scott? Seemed lost for words, means seeing their reactions. Scott seemed lost for words as well. Meanwhile, my parents were pleading please, and Miss Sister maintained her haughty demeanor. She seemed certain she would. She seemed certain she would get Scott given that my parents always catered to her desires. It's no wonder she believed it, but this was an outrageous request. As I held my head in my hands, Scott pulled me aside and whispered, "This might actually be a chance." Really, yeah, because this is do you really love Scott's joke you made when you were drunk coming to life then? Shall we go for it with that we stood up and faced Miss Sister and parents again? Do you really love Scott that much? Surprised by my question, my sister couldn't hide her astonishment and repeat several times sighs. Yes, I really have loved him all this time, truly. That's some deep affection to continue loving him for 15 years. Even though he's another woman's husband, it's been very painful seeing you and Scott together. It should have been mistoon by her conviction. Filled words. Scott and I struggle to keep our composure. I give up if you love him. That parent's reaction, Mac. I'll step aside. The parents were shocked by this statement. My mother quickly reacted. Really, don't you love Scott? To know, actually, Scott, to tell? Youth truth. I've always liked Sally, when Scott replied. My sister's face flushed with delight. Really? I knew it. You never resisted when I hugged you, and your eyes always looked so loving. I've been waiting. Finally, this moment has come. It was hard for me to suppress my laughter. My sister's reaction. Scott was pretending to cry, but could see his shoulders shaking. We'll just have to bear with this moment a little longer. We'll always be together from now on. Scott, suddenly, my sister started speaking to him so casually it strangely sounded natural. For the past 15 years. Must have been experiencing a fulfilling romance with Scott in Herman Sally. I'm happy. Please be my support from now on, Scott said with a smile. Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to him. Quit my job, really. The sudden blush on me sister's face disappeared, replaced by an expression of shock. I want to be with you, Sally, all the time, so I'm quitting me job to always be by your side. Would I won't even go outside anymore. I'll follow you to the bathroom, and I'll watch you do housework from behind. Scott's cheerful tone left my sister momentarily stunned before she began to panic. Our parents couldn't hide their disturbance either, but I'm not working either, and this is troubling. What's troubling? If we're together, we have nothing to fear. We don't need money to be happy, but nowadays we need to pay for insurance, right? It's not like the old times we can't love each other if there's no money. I'm not saying that. But it's not like the old times. Sister's eyes lost focus, seizing the moment. I quickly said, Scott, if we do end up divorcing, I'll be taking a junior share of the assets. So you better pay up dent. Worry your sister and parents will take care of the payments. Scott replied with a laugh. Hearing this, our parents went pale and looked at each other. Salithis is hard to say, but this isn't right, stealing a husband from your sister. Exactly. Sally, that is indeed where Hodel, the previous passion gone. It was as that. Is indeed where if our parents had suddenly switched third year. What are you talking about? You promised to give Scott to me, but Scylla thought was before. I don't want to hear it. Doesn't anyone support me as my sister? In a frenzy, she pulled Mimithers. Hare and my father struggled to mediate. It was like watching a scene of Fuda chaos. In the midst of the chaos, Scott calmly inserted his words. As Severian's attention turned to him, Hess, honestly, you are not my type. I respect you as Marian's sister. But apart from that, I don't really want to interact much with you, especially that upward gaze. Yes, they tactually turns me off the feeling that's a mean. Harbor's unrequited feelings, Fom is honestly quite difficult. Scott's candid remarks left both my sister and or parents speechless. But Scott, what was all that earlier? Please stop. Buying so casual with someone else's husband. There's no way he could fall for you. We have a family and we are living happily. While saying this, I stopped my sister, was walking toward Scott with a pale face. What, you tricked me, my sister? What? You tricked me, shouted. How? Can you think someone who hasn't contacted you for 15 years loves you isn't that unrealistic? I challenged. Hermie's sister's face turned red and shabagan to tear up, clearly tears of frustration, frustration. If you were truly an attractive woman, maybe, but no one finds charm in someone who is unemployed, dependent on their parents, and can't do anything because her mother has always done the household chores. With those things, at your age, any marriage wouldn't last long. As I spoke plainly, Scott chuckled quietly behind me, struck by the please give up salad truth of these words. My sister began talkery, loudly, unable to stop her tears. Or Prince tried to comfort her, but their faces bore confused expressions, as if saying it's really true. Therefore, I'm not handing over Scott with that banked case. Please give up Sally. At this, Miss Sister began to cry like a child. It was an unseemly sight for an adult. She'll take this experience as a lesson. Really hasn't grown up. Take this experience as a lesson, and please don't involve yourself with us again, no matter how much trouble you find yourself in future. Don't expect any help from us with that. I slowly closed the front door. When the children asked what happened, I responded, it's Halloween season, so it seems a ghost came early. My eldest suggested, let's exorcise the spirit. Seems a ghost came early also. I stopped that idea. It almost seemed like there was a wailing ghost outside, as we could hear my sister crying. Another 5 years passed, and Charmaine, single, she managed to find a job at, was eventually fired for inappropriate behavior and cause trouble. Be rushing into marriage to muck, leading to her being banned from matchmaking events. It seems she might stay single for life. My parents are working part-time, even after tiring saving money for her sake. They probably realize they can't rely on her for their future care. I hope they feel the consequences of indulging her after all their hard work. Now I spend my days as a homemaker without worrying about my children's school fees, thanks to my intelligent children and a husband with a stable income. Sometimes I wonder if working outside could have helped me quickly burn off the calories from overeating during the end of holiday. My daughter, already slim, is entering her growth phase and wants to start dieting, which I'm persuading her against. You can't think about dieting when you're older, like me, I advise her. My 2 sons love dancing and recently showcased their talent at a local event, winning several awards. They confidently say we're going to be in BTS one day. So I sincerely hope BTS continues as a group until my son's sorry grown-ups. We enjoy reg visits from my in-laws, who are as dear to me as me own parents, sharing delightful meals when the children have spring break. Wepland to take a spa trip, looking forward to spending quality time together. Thother were many difficulties before a marriage. My daily life through marriage has been filled with happiness, deepening through bonds of family. I hope for continued health and long life wherever young to share more precious times with our family.